Hi, welcome to Arcadian, and to the DM's Den, the little hideout within this channel where we talk DM to DM. So if you're a player and you don't want to see the smoke and mirrors behind the curtain, leave now. But yet again, why would you? Why not join the club and become Oz yourself? I can promise you it's as fun, if not more, than being a player. Anyway, if you clicked on this video, I suppose it's because you want to hear my take on what to do when we DMs kill one player character. Today we discuss how to handle player character deaths. So, one of your player's characters died. Resurrection either failed or was not an option. Now what? I don't have a step-by-step solution because this depends hugely on the group you're playing with. For some groups, death is an integral part of the game that happens every few sessions. No big deal. Some other groups spend years, sometimes whole campaigns, without a single death. So when one happens, it hits hard. So instead I will address a few specific topics and hopefully provide some tools or at the very least some ideas on how to deal with them. Ultimately, it's the DM's responsibility in a way to know their group and the tone of their adventure to tailor suit how death is approached in the game. So it's more useful to have a wide array of tools than an extremely detailed checklist. So, how to approach death. To make it short, make it memorable. Regardless of the circumstances, a character death is always a pivotal moment in any game. And I mean pivotal as in it might pivot one way or another. It's a crossroads. The party can either make it or break it. The other characters might sink or soar. If your game is very roleplay heavy, this takes on immense proportions as a death deeply affects all the remaining characters. But even if your game is a hack and slash dungeon crawl, a character death changes the whole dynamic. It still carries a lot of impact. Maybe now the characters don't have the resources to get out. Maybe the dead character was the guide, or irreplaceable for the purposes of completing the mission. So take the time to explore the situation, to make it cinematic, and mostly to take full advantage of this moment that can change your whole campaign, as it's immensely powerful. It's not by chance that so many books and movies and series have character deaths as big turning points in the story. It's such a big story event that it's almost a crime for us running a narrative game not to explore this narratively. What about how to deal with the player whose character died? There are as many kinds of reaction to character deaths as there are players, but I'm willing to guess most players will feel bad. It's not a pleasant experience, most of the times. This person you birthed into life and spent so much time fleshing out and actually living through their story suddenly gone, and you can never play with it again? Well, first things first, be tactful with that player. Some people can be hurt by character deaths to the point of tears and feelings of grief. It happened at my table. Like a great man once said,
"Always try to be nice. Never fail to be kind."
However, resist the temptation of bringing back the character in a Deus Ex Machina move. Most often than not, the player will feel betrayed with such a move, and it can damage the weight death has on your games forever. Besides, you'll be throwing out the window an amazing opportunity for story and character development. Many players feel down after losing a character, but then they become very excited at the prospect of getting to play a new one. So, allow your players to mourn their characters, give them time to integrate this experience, to digest their feelings, and then, when appropriate, engage them in the exciting part of creating a new character. Allowing your players to describe their character's demise can also be a powerful tool to help the player get some closure. Some DMs might fear that the player goes overboard with this, but in the right hands, this power can lead to some very beautiful and powerful moments. I never tried it, but some DMs even ask the players to narrate a small epilogue, a conclusion to their character's story, the moment that the character enters the afterlife, or maybe the gut reaction that their family has at home, sensing their passing. One interesting thing I learned from my experience, though, is that players might not get upset with the death itself. They realize that D&D is ruled by the dice, and that the danger of death is always present. That's in the rules of the game. Sometimes, it's about the circumstances of death. I mean, I believe that anyone would get upset if their character died, but if the death was epic or contributed to the story, if it felt worthy, somehow there's a closure. But when the character dies in a random encounter, or because of a stupid decision, or in any other circumstances where it feels cheap and without any weight or consequence to the story, any impact on the world, players get exceptionally mad. After all, we play D&D to feel like heroes. If the passage of our hero in the world and their demise leaves no trace, no effect, and they are forgotten, it feels like wasted time. Stupid decisions will always happen. Encounters gone south too. What I'd advise here is to draw as much juice from the death as possible. Make it so that even if it's tragic or stupid or it felt random, the consequences of that death are huge. Because if the aftermath it causes is amazing and feels like an even greater opportunity for your heroes to be heroes, eventually the players will come to terms with it and actually remember it as an awesome moment that changed the whole story, butterfly effect style. Maybe the fallen hero was the champion of a dying deity, the only thing that kept her alive, and now, unless the rest of the party saves her, she will die and allow the armies of the 9 hells she was holding off to break free. Maybe the players discover that their fallen comrade was a prince, and now his evil uncle becomes king and plunges the land in war and famine, so they must find the dead character's sister, which happens to be that player's new character, to help her claim her throne. Maybe the dead character was destined to beat an elder aberration that ravaged his home, as it was written in that character's backstory. But now that the monster is left unchecked, with no rival, with no champion destined to defeat it, it will keep gaining power and become a world-ending calamity that must be stopped. Just think about what happened if Harry Potter died in the Chamber of Secrets. Who would defeat Voldemort? What would be the consequences? What would be the weight on the need to get a hero to defeat it? There are endless opportunities not only to continue, but enrich your story. Of course, this line of thought can also be reversed. Unless that is the tone you're going for, avoid placing your players in situations where cheap deaths can happen when you don't want them to. I'm not saying you can't challenge them, but maybe save those really deadly encounters for the climax battles. Not every encounter needs to be a fight for survival. It's perfectly okay to have some easy fights along the way. I'm aware that this kills the open world feel that some DMs, me included, like to enforce. The idea that the players have access to the lair of a dragon, way too strong for their power level, but that they can technically fight if they really want to. They just have to step in there. It's there for them to fight. Having the whole world leveled up alongside your players for the sake of keeping all encounters balanced can break immersion quite easily, and remind your players that this world isn't real. It's made for them. In the area where you were fighting goblins a few weeks ago, now there are behirs. It can feel cheap and forced. I guess it's just a matter of deciding where in the verisimilitude versus narrative safety axis that you want to place your game. But I'd also argue that it's possible to run such an open world game with many different encounter difficulties if you just convey to your players the difficulty of the trouble they're about to get them, to protect the players' feelings in the event of a character death, to avoid making them feel like they were betrayed by the game, like they entered an area which was way too difficult for them and they had no clue about that, so they had no way to escape that prior to the actual fight beginning and killing their character. If you know there's a dragon in that cave, make sure that the characters can realize that before the encounter begins, or before it's too late to turn back. That way, if they still want to go in and fight the dragon, it's their choice, and it's not really your place to stop them. But at least they will know. But also remember that death must not always be the consequence. When the players lose an encounter, killing isn't always the way to go for the villains. When Shelob got the best of Frodo, it didn't kill him. Instead, it wrapped him in a cocoon and dragged him to its lair to feed on later, which gave Sam a chance to save his friend. When the Snatchers found Harry Potter and his gang in the last book, they didn't kill them on sight. They took them to the Malfoy Manor as prisoners, giving them a chance to try and escape. It's okay to give your players a freebie once in a while as long as the situation doesn't break verisimilitude, and hence the awareness of death and the danger it represents isn't lost. In fact, it can even enrich your story. Instead of killing a character, the Harpies fly away with an unconscious body to their nest. Now, the rest of the party must embark on a very time-sensitive rescuing mission to rescue their friend. You manage to escalate the tension, which really is what all good stories are all about. This is especially important in TPKs, or total party kill scenarios. If you and your players are not ready to end the campaign yet, or if it wouldn't make sense to keep playing with a different party, consider these options. I'm not telling you to use them all the time. Death should still be a constant danger, but just be aware that there are other options. And also be aware that sometimes you don't need a TPK to end a campaign. The death of one particular character, the one that holds all the group together, can be enough to cause them to break into inner conflict or make everyone lose interest in continuing to play. In the end, death is a vital part of D&D. I know this is a controversial statement, but D&D isn't the optimal system to be telling stories. It's certainly possible, likely even, to tell the most amazing stories with D&D, but if you want to play a game where a bad die roll can never have deadly consequences, there are probably other systems that would fit better with your fantasy. Death is so central to D&D, and traumatic as it may be, I do believe that experiencing a character death can be enjoyable in a kind of twisted narrative sense, but that truly makes you grow as a human being. What's important here is that everyone is on the same page. As a DM, you are responsible to be aware of the possibility of death, to make your players aware of that, to convey to them possibly deadly scenarios, to make sure they aren't caught off guard or that they only realize too late, and mostly to embrace these moments with the care, respect, and to explore them narratively in the way that makes them justice. Deaths in writing or in games or in storytelling media is a subject I could talk for hours, but I hope that in these short minutes I was able to convey my summarized thoughts on it and give you some tools and ideas, or at least some dangers to look out for. I'm the First Arcadian, your Portuguese Dungeon Master, artist, and author. If you watched this video until the end, I think it's safe to assume that you'd like my other stuff on this channel, so please consider subscribing and liking these videos to help me out with the algorithm. If you want to support this channel, you can also hop on my social media pages, at @TFirstArcadian in Twitter and @TheFirstArcadian everywhere else. I am also an artist, and I am almost always available for commissions, so you'd be helping out the channel and getting some dope art at the same time. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope to see you at the next one.